It starts with a headline everyone thought was a mistake. Local woman charged with shoplifting. Turns out she's a cop, but not just any cop. Detective Nia Brooks. Internal affairs. Clean record. For commendations. The kind of investigator who didn't blink when officers twice her size cracked under questioning. And yet, here she was, in handcuffs on camera, being shoved into the back of a patrol car outside a grocery store. The footage went viral in hours. The comments called it racial profiling, a setup, a cop-on-cop conspiracy. The truth? Stranger than anyone guessed. Police claimed Nia had stolen a $9.99 bottle of perfume. Security footage looked bad. She picked it up, slipped it in her bag, and walked out. No scan, no beep. Straight theft. Her expression is calm. Too calm. That's what made people uneasy. Like she expected it. Like she was watching them. At the station, she said nothing. No lawyer. No tears. Just sat there, tapping her fingernails in perfect rhythm with the camera clicks of passing officers who couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their favorite detective caught. Then came the inconsistencies. The arresting officers, Ramirez and Kenson, filed separate reports that didn't match. One said she resisted. The other said she was silent. One said the evidence bag was sealed at the scene. The other said evidence was collected later. Later? In a theft case? To internal affairs, that sounded wrong. But Nia already was internal affairs. She would have noticed that first. Here's where it gets wild. Nia had been working an undercover case for months, probing rumors that South Precinct officers were running an evidence-skimming operation. Confiscated items vanishing, cash uncounted, drugs reappearing on the street. Her team suspected inside help. Maybe even someone on the senior command staff. But every lead went dead. Until now. Turns out, the grocery store was across the street from one of the warehouses mentioned in an anonymous tip, an address tied to missing property logs. Nia hadn't gone shopping. She'd gone fishing. But someone had beaten her to the bait. Her arrest? Too perfectly timed. The second she scanned her ID at self-checkout, before even leaving, the system had already flagged her as a repeat offender. She'd never been charged before. Someone planted that data. Someone on the inside. At her arraignment, the judge looked confused. Her record was spotless. The DA's file was missing an entire section, her employment. No mention she was a detective. The omission wasn't an accident. It was removed deliberately. Reporters called it an administrative oversight. Nia called it what it was. A trap. The shock came 2 days later. The body cam footage leaked. Viewers froze. At minute 4:37, when the officer hands over the perfume bottle as evidence, he tags it with a label. But zoom in tiny handwritten letters. EL7. That code didn't match item inventory. Internal Affairs used EL to tag corruption cases. That bottle wasn't store merchandise. It was bait planted intentionally. By now, the internet had become her defense team. Hashtags everywhere. Hashtag set up Nia. Hashtag justice for Detective Brooks. Hashtag bad trap. Anonymous users dug deeper. One found that Officer Ramirez had recently purchased a new truck in cash for times the salary. Another noted Kenson had multiple disciplinary write-ups, all quietly deleted from public record. Deleted by whom? The answer showed up in a leaked email from Nia's own supervisor, Captain Jory Elton. His signature on the clearance form. Elton, the man leading her investigation. The man she trusted. When reporters questioned him, he smiled for the cameras. Internal review ongoing. But leak after leak kept dropping. Money transfers. Surveillance gaps. Missing evidence logs going back 13 months. And suddenly, all those petty cases, missing wallets, swapped narcotics, pointed straight to South Precinct leadership. Still, they held Nia in custody. No bail. Because apparently, detectives can't be trusted either. Her partner, Detective Hal Cooper, went rogue trying to free her, demanded to see the chain of custody on that perfume bottle. Denied. Twice. On the third try, the evidence locker number didn't exist. Room EL 7 wasn't in the precinct floor plan. There was no EL7. It was a ghost inventory, used to stash unlogged contraband and payoffs. That's when Hal realized they never expected Nia to walk out alive. Day 6. Nia finally spoke from county jail, not to the police, to the press. One statement for words. Checked the locker logs. Within hours, Internal Affairs received an anonymous drop drive. Inside, body cam files from South Precinct never meant to see daylight. Files showing weekly deliveries, cash, jewelry, tech. Officers labeling them as evidence, then selling them back out the back door. And leading every transaction, Captain Jory Elton. But the biggest shock wasn't the captain. It was line 27 of one video log. A woman's voice commanding the officers where to send next week's shipment. Deep calm, precise. It was Nia's voice, except the timestamp said it was recorded 2 days after she'd already been in jail. Theories exploded. Deepfake? Pre-recorded orders? Inside impersonation? Whatever it was, the narrative flipped again. Was Nia framed or leading both sides? Hal couldn't believe it. He'd worked with her for years. Her detail was flawless. But now, timestamps didn't lie. Unless someone edited them. Someone with access to internal systems. Someone who wanted her to look like the mastermind. He checked the metadata. Found something buried. Small, overlooked. A secondary fingerprint tag from the editing software. It wasn't Nia's. It was linked to a workstation under the alias Ghost 4. The IP address? The same one Elton used for his encrypted communications. Now Hal knew. Captain Elton didn't just set her up. He rewrote the evidence to erase himself. But he couldn't say anything yet. If Elton suspected, Hal would disappear next. Meanwhile, Nia sat silent in county jail until one night she got a note slipped through the bars. Handwritten. No name. Just 4 letters. EL7. Beneath it, a locker number she'd never seen before. Inside Internal Affairs headquarters, not South Precinct. The real locker? Sealed years ago after a corruption investigation no one talked about. Rumors said it held files that could bring down half the department. When her defense attorney petitioned for access, the request vanished. The court hearing was canceled due to scheduling error. Classic move. Cover up in motion. But Hal wasn't waiting. He broke into Internal Affairs after hours, used a maintenance scan card, and traced the hallway cameras. Only to find they'd been looping static for 3 years. That locker was meant to stay invisible. He pried it open anyway. Inside, 10 hard drives, each labeled with a name. Officers past and present. And one last drive, unlabeled except for NB in black marker. Nia Brooks's initials. Hal plugged it in. The screen flickered. Dozens of video clips appeared. Recordings Nia had made herself during her undercover mission. Except the audio note on the final file froze him. Nia's own voice, whispering like she knew someone would find it too late. If you're hearing this, they think they've already won. But EL7 isn't just evidence. It's insurance. Don't trust anyone wearing the badge. Especially me. The footage cut off mid-word. Minutes later, Hal's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. We know what you found. Leave before sunrise. Then silence. Somewhere across town, Nia was being transferred. Midnight move. No paper trail. Not to another jail, but to a federal holding site. No one knew where. The truck carrying her rolled past the outskirts of town. One headlight flickered, then vanished into the dark. Next morning, reporters arrived at South Precinct demanding answers. The captain's office was sealed. His badge and gun missing. Only a message left on his monitor. L7 equals endgame. And that's when they realized Nia's case wasn't about theft or corruption or even revenge. It was about what the entire department had buried for decades. Because someone finally opened the wrong locker. The monitor still glowed with that message. EL7 equals endgame. The precinct buzzed like a wasp's nest. Files gone. Cameras dead. Captain Elton missing. And Detective Hal Cooper? He'd vanished too. The rumor mill said he fled town. The truth was different. Hal was on the run with Nia's drive. He copied it before leaving Internal Affairs that night. But that didn't make him safe. Whoever controlled EL7 knew he had their secret. By dawn, every highway camera flagged his license plate. Meanwhile, inside that unmarked federal truck, Nia woke up cuff-hooded, hearing men whisper about final clearance. She overheard bits. Governor's office federal liaison containment. Not a prisoner transfer. A disappearance. The convoy stopped in the middle of nowhere. When the back doors opened, she was standing before a man in a black suit, no badge, no insignia. He smiled like he already knew her playbook. "Detective Brooks," he said. "Welcome to Phase 2. He called himself Director Hale. Said he'd been running a shadow task force investigating rogue operations inside multiple state precincts. The EL7 files? Their secret database. Each item was evidence too dangerous for courts, stuff that could blow apart whole departments. Elton had found it years earlier and used it to blackmail half the force. But Nia had stumbled too close. Her arrest wasn't set up by dirty cops alone. It was orchestrated by both sides fighting for control of EL7. Elton wanted the files gone. Hale wanted them weaponized. And now, both thought Nia was the key. Back in the city, Hal dug into the drive's final folder, locked under audio encryption. Code name, Aurora. When he cracked it, his screen filled with personnel documents from Internal Affairs itself, top-level names. Nia's, Elton's, and above them, Director Hale. The same man now claiming to rescue her. Hal realized the L7 wasn't a case file system at all. It was a control network, tracking and manipulating investigators who got too close to corruption. Internal Affairs, evidence units, everyone, puppets. And Nia? Tagged as primary variable. The test subject. That's when every light in his hideaway flickered out. The laptop screen went black. Then a new message appeared, one line, glowing white. Phase 2 uploaded. Cut to Nia, staring as Hale handed her a familiar flash drive. Her own. "You built the algorithm, detective," he whispered. "You just never knew what it was for." Note, this isn't over. Files are leaking. The trail runs deeper than anyone imagined. Stay tuned for more stories like this. Some secrets can't stay locked forever.